so today we're going to be solving equations. So it's a little bit of review of Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. So we're starting off with three-step equations. So with our three-step equations, what that means is it takes 3 steps to solve the equation. So our first step is going to get the x's on the same side. So this 4x here, we're going to move it over to the other side, and we're going to do that by subtracting 4x on both sides. Okay, so once we do that, you have 2 x's, you take away 4, you're left with negative 2x minus 1 equals, the 4x minus 4x cancels each other out, and we're left with equal to 13. Okay, so that's step 1. Step 2, we're going to have to get rid of this minus 1 and move it to the other side. So we're going to have to add 1 to both sides, and we get negative 2x equals 13 plus 1 is 14. And then our last step to solve for x is to divide both sides by negative 2. So these two negatives make a positive, these 2's cancel out, and we get x equals 14 divided by negative 2 gives us negative 7. All right, so let's go ahead and try the next one. So we're going to do the exact same thing. We are going to start off by moving the 3x to the other side. You have 7 x's and you take away 3, you're left with 4x. Plus 3 equals, and then all you're left with on the other side of the equal sign is the 19. Then from there, we're going to move over the 3 first, so we subtract 3 on both sides, and we get 4x equals 19 minus 3 is 16. And our last step to solve for x is to get rid of this 4 that's with the x, so we need to do the opposite and divide it. What we do to one side, we do to the other side, so we get x equals 4. Okay? All right, the next one. So here we have linear equations with distribution. So we're going to have to distribute to solve for x. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the first one. We have 4. We have to distribute this 4 to the x. So we get 4x, and then we also have to distribute the 4 times a positive 2, which gives us positive 8. And then here we have a minus 12 equals, and then we're going to distribute this 3 to each one. So 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 2 gives us negative 6. Okay. Now, before we move on to our next step, we do need to combine our like terms. So here we have a positive 8 and a negative 12. We have to combine those. So 8 minus 12 gives us a negative 4. Okay, now that we've combined our like terms, we're ready to start solving for x. So we're going to take this 3x and move it to the other side by subtracting. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. So 4x's minus 3x's gives us 1x minus 4 equals, and then the 3x's cancel out, and all we're left with is negative 6. So then our next step for this negative 4, we need to move it to the other side by doing the opposite and adding a positive 4 to it. So negative 4 plus 4 cancels out, and we get x equals negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. All right, the next section. So here the negative 2, we multiply it times the 3x, and that gives us negative 6x. We multiply the negative 2 times the positive 4, and that gives us negative 8. And that's the only pieces that are inside the parentheses. So the minus 6 minus 4, you just copy it down. And this is equal to 36. All right, before we start solving for x, we have to combine like terms. So on here, if I look, negative 6x and negative 6x together, that gives us negative 12x. And then we can combine negative 8 and negative 4, and together that gives us negative 12 equal to 36. And now that we combine our like terms, we're ready to start solving for x. So this negative 12, we're going to move it over by doing the opposite and adding 12. So it cancels out, and we're left with negative 12x equals 36 plus 12 is 48. And our last step to solve for x is to divide by negative 12. And then these negatives make a positive, so we end up with a positive x equals 48 divided by 12 is negative 4. Now we have the possibility of having one solution, which is what we've been doing. All the problems we've been solving, we have one solution. We can have no solution, so 0 solutions, or we can have infinitely many solutions. So we have 3 possibilities. So the examples that we did here, all of these had one solution. So let's go ahead and see when we have no solution or infinitely many solutions. So if we look here, we're going to go ahead and start off by distributing this 5 to each term. Okay, so we get 9 minus 5x equals, and we multiply 5 times 9, that gives us 45. And then you have a 5 on the bottom. Then we multiply the 5 times the negative 5x, and that gives us negative 5x. Okay. Then we go ahead and simplify this. 45 divided by 5, we know that gives us 9. So 9 minus 5x. And then if you can see how this side is the exact same thing as that side, that's a hint that we're going to have infinitely many solutions. But if we continue to try to solve this, we're going to go ahead and combine the x's together. So here we add the 5x, we add the 5x. And what happens is that the 5x's cancel each other out, and all we're left with is 9 equals 9, which we know this is true. So because this is true, that means it doesn't matter what number we plug in for x, we will have infinitely many solutions. So you can pick any number that you can think of and plug it into this equation, and it will always be equal. Okay, so it can be any number. Now let's go ahead and try the next one. So we distribute this 5 to each term, so we get 10x, and then 5 times negative 3 is negative 15, equals 3 times 3x gives us 6x, and then 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. Then we start solving for x, so we're going to go ahead and move the 6x to the other side. This cancels. 10 minus 6 is 4x minus 15 equals negative 15. Then we move the 15 to the other side, so plus 15, this cancels, and we get 4x equals 0. Then we divide both sides by 4, and we get x equals 0. Okay, so that means that your solution is actually equal to 0. It doesn't mean that you don't have a solution, it's just equal to 0. Those are the only examples. Let me go ahead and give you an example real quick of what it would be if we didn't have any solutions, or if there was not a possible solution, because I don't think it was included on here. So let me go ahead and just add the problem really quick. Say we have 2x minus 5 equals, and then we have 2 times x minus 2. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start off by distributing this 2. And we get 2x minus 5 equals 2 times x, and then 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Okay. Then we're going to go ahead and get the x's together. So we're going to move this x to the other side of the equal sign by subtracting it. And they both end up canceling out. But this time what we're left with is negative 5 is equal to negative 4, which we know this is not true, right? So if it is not true, then that means that we have no solution. Okay. There's no number that you can pick for x that will ever make these two equations equal. Never. Okay, because we got negative 5 equals negative 4. Okay, so those are your 3 different examples. We have one solution, we have infinitely many solutions, and we have no solution. Okay, now we're going to solve linear rational equations. So this sounds a little fancy, but all we got to do is cross multiply. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and multiply the 3 times the 5x minus 4 equals, and then we're going to multiply the 2 times the 5x plus 4. And then we are going to solve by distribution first. So we're going to go ahead and multiply this 3 times the 5, that gives us 15x. 3 times the negative 4, that gives us negative 12 equals. Then we distribute this 2, so 2 times 5 is 10x, and then 2 times 4 is 8. So that's solving for x. So this 10x, we're going to go ahead and move to the other side. So we subtract the 10x. And then 15 minus 10 gives us 5x minus 12 equals, this cancels, it is equal to 8. Then we have this negative 12. So this negative 12, we're going to move to the other side by adding 12. I'm running out of room here. This cancels out, and all we're left with is, I'm going to write it here, 5x. 8 plus 12 is equal to 20. And then our last step to solve for x is to divide by 5. So x is equal to 4. next one. So we're going to do the exact same thing. We have this fraction equal to another fraction, so we can go ahead and cross multiply. So we're going to multiply 3 times 4 minus 2x equals 2 times negative 3 minus 6x. And we follow the exact same steps. So we start off by distributing this 3 to each term. So 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6x. And then we are going to distribute the 2 times the negative 3, which gives us negative 6, and the negative 2 times, the 2 times the negative 6, which is negative 12x. Okay, then we follow the same steps. We're going to get the x's together on one side. So I'm going to move this 12x to the other side. Negative 6 plus 12x is going to give us 6x. So positive 6x. And I just brought this 12 down. Equals negative 6. And then these 12s canceled out. All right, then the next step, we're going to go ahead and take this 12 and move it to the other side of the equal sign by subtracting. So this cancels out and we get 6x equals negative 18. Then our last step to solve for x is to divide both sides by 6. And negative 18 divided by 6, we're going to end up getting x equals negative 3. Okay, so that's solving rational equations. All right, the next part, now solving fractional linear equations. So here we see a bunch of fractions, okay? So we're gonna try to get rid of the fractions first because I know you guys don't like to work with fractions. So what we're going to do is we see this number here at the bottom, it's 2. A 4 here is in the denominator also, and then this one is also in the denominator. So we have to see what number will 2, 4, and 2 all divide into. So if I multiply this by 4, you can divide 4 divided by 2 gives you a whole number, 4 divided by 4 gives you a whole number, and so does this 2. So to cancel out these fractions, we're going to go ahead and multiply this whole thing by 4. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and distribute it to the coefficient. So 4 times 3 gives us 12. So it'll be 12 over 2x minus, then we're going to distribute it to the next one. So 4 times 1 is 4. It'll be over 4. Equals. So we have to do it to both sides of the equal sign. So we're going to do 4 times x is 4x. Then last, we're going to multiply 4 times 1/2. So 4 times 1 is 4 over 2. Okay, then from there, we're going to go ahead and simplify. So we know 12 divided by 2 gives us 6x minus 4 divided by 4 gives us 1 equals. This 4x doesn't need to simplify. Sorry. I don't know what happened. Oh no. Okay, so 4 divided by 2 gives us 2. Okay, so then from there, start solving for x. Sorry, my screen shut off, so I was a little confused. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and solve for x. So we need to get the x's on the same side of the equal sign. What we're going to do is subtract the 4x on both sides. So minus 4x and minus 4x. Okay, so then we end up getting 2x minus 1 equals, this cancels out, and we're just left with 2. Okay, then from there, we're going to go ahead and move over the minus 1. So we're going to add 1 to both sides. And then we are going to get, 2x, the 1's canceled out, equals 2 plus 1 is 3. And then our last step to solve for x is going to be to divide both sides by 2. So I kind of ran out of space, but we're going to get x equals, and then the 3 divided by 2, because we're going to divide both sides by 2. Okay, so that would be your solution. let's look at the next one. Okay, so here we have x over 5 minus x over 2 equals 3. So we're going to go ahead and solve for x. So first we need to get rid of the fraction. So we need to see, since we have the denominators here 5 and 2, we need to see what number can we divide that 5 and 2 will go into evenly. So if I think of a number, for example, 10. 10 divided by 5 gives us a whole number, and so does 10 divided by 2 gives us a whole number. So that's what we are going to divide by. So I'm going to go ahead and take this and then multiply the whole thing by 10. So we go ahead and multiply. 10 times x is 10x divided by 5 minus 10 times the other x is going to give us 10x divided by 2 equals, and then we're going to multiply 10 times 3, and that gives us 30. Okay. Then we need to simplify these fractions. So 10 divided by 5 gives us 2x minus 10 divided by 2 gives us 5x equals 30. Okay, and the next one, we're going to go ahead and take 2x. We're going to subtract the 5x, and that gives us negative 3x equals 30. And our last step to solve for x is to divide both sides by negative 3. These 3's cancel out, the negative is positive, so we're left with x equals 30 divided by negative 3 gives us negative 10. And that's it. Okay, so now the next section. Oh, wait, it's similar, I think, still. For the last section, we're going to go ahead and take the 3 halves, and we're going to, and the 1/4, and we're going to cancel out the fractions first. So we're going to multiply the whole thing by a common factor, or a number that has factors of 2 and 4, which would be 4. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and multiply the 4 times the 3, and that gives us 12 over 2 times x plus 5 minus, and now you don't have to distribute the 4 times the x or the 5 because then it'll end up getting redistributed right now. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. You just multiply times the coefficient. So 4 times negative 1/4 would give us negative 4 over 4. And then we write out x plus 24 equals, and then we're going to go ahead and multiply the 4 times the 0, and that gives us 0. So here we have 12 divided by 2 is going to give us 6 times x plus 5. And then we do 4 divided by 4 is going to give us negative 1 times x plus 24. And then this is equal to 0. So then we start solving for x. So 6 times x is 6x. 6 times 5 is 30. Minus x minus 24 equals 0. So then if you have 6 x's and you take away an x, you're left with, okay, we're combining like terms. So that would give us 5x. Then we combine the 30 and the negative 24, and that gives us a positive 6 equals 0. And then our last step to solve for x, or not even the last step, I'm sorry, we have 2 more steps. We subtract the 6, and we get 5x equals negative 6. And now our last step to solve for x is to divide by 5. So these 5's cancel out, and we get x equals negative 6 over 5. Okay. So on to the last problem. So on here we have 1/4 x plus 3/4 times 10 minus x equals 3. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cancel out the denominator. So we're going to have to multiply the whole thing by 4. So we're going to go ahead and distribute the 4. 4 times 1 is 4 over 4 x plus, then we multiply the 4 times the 3/4. So 4 times 3 gives us 12 over 4. Now you don't have to multiply it times the 10 minus x because that's inside the parentheses and it'll later get distributed to each one. Okay, So it's equal to, and then 4 times the 3 gives us 12. So 4 divided by 4 gives us 1x plus 12 divided by 4 gives us 3 times 10 minus x is equal to 12. Okay. Now that we simplified this, we're ready to distribute the 3. So here we have 1x and then plus 3 times 10 is 30. 3 times negative x is negative 3x equals 12. Okay, the next part is 1x, you take away 3x, and that gives us negative 2x plus 30 equals 12. We subtract the 30. And then from there, we go ahead and get negative 2x equals, these 30's canceled out, so 12 minus 30 is negative 28. We divide both sides by negative 2. The 2's cancel out, the negatives canceled out. We're left with x equals negative 28 divided by negative 2. The 2 negatives make a positive, and 28 divided by 2 gives us 14. So that would be our final answer for that one. That's it.